Welcome back to All the Stars Sailing Adventures.
Join us, Rachel and Jess, on our Cavalier 37 All the Stars as we live and learn about life on the water. After spending the summer off the boat, visiting family on the south coast of New South Wales, it was time for me to head back to All the Stars in Bundaberg, Queensland, where she'd been waiting patiently on the hard stand for 3 months. Rightio, here we are at the marina, Bundaberg, and the boat is over there somewhere, so I'm just about to go over and check her out, see where we are in the workyard. A few mud wasps here and there, but here we go, climbing in. Yep, a little bit of mould, quite a bit of mould. What I was really keen to check out is how much water is in the bilge. The water level is at bilge level. The last sort of 20 or 30 millimetres of water doesn't get bilged out, and I'm just touching that float switch right now and I got nothing. So either the plug in the hole that I took out earlier is helping drain, or that pump stopped working around about the same time that it stopped coming in. So first full day of attacking the boat jobs, and we've got a nice sunny morning at least, tipping showers later. So I'm going to get stuck straight into sanding the hull and trying to get the blister areas exposed and ground down. As there's already a lot of how to fix osmosis repair videos online, I won't go into detail here, other than to say it involves a lot of sanding, fiberglassing and filling before the next stage of priming before applying antifoul. Tropical heat picks up really early in the morning here. It's only 7:30 and it's already super hot. But, today's mission is to get the final blisters that I can find ground out, and then I can start fiberglassing them up. So this is my biggest blister right here. That's probably had about 8 layers of fiberglass to bring that up. I'm still going to have to fill that quite a bit. These ones have come up really well. And I've started to use the micro balloons filler. After repairing each blister, I used a fairing filler of micro balloons mixed with epoxy resin, which is much easier to sand to an even finish. You'll see here I've got fiberglass repair filled with a filler, and that's been sanded. I'm now going to be priming these with an epoxy primer over every spot that I've worked on. And then I'm actually going to be putting a product called VinGuard on, which is a barrier membrane that stops moisture getting through to the repair. And that also helps the antifouling, which is the final coat, to go over everything and bond to the repairs. So yeah, that's at the moment it's a bit too humid and likely to rain. So today I probably won't be priming. I'll just have to hold off till I've got at least half a day of fairly drying weather. And then we're going to be putting the VinGuard on, which dries very quickly. And then it'll be time to roll up the sleeves and get covered in black antifouling. So yeah, probably 3 or 4 days more to go. I found that with the combination of high daytime temperatures and the antifouling tack drying quickly, in places tiny blisters are lifting off with the roller. This was explained to me as being likely due to bonding issues with the underlying prime coat of earlier hull work. There she is. I've got the fellas in the yard here, come on to give me a hand to move these props that are holding the boat in place so that I can get to the spots underneath there to treat any areas that need treating on the hull, and then when we lift her up in the slings, I don't have to worry about trying to paint over little spots that are left over. The whole hull will be done. So yeah, they're coming over in a sec, which will be great. And I've just re-coated the propeller shaft and prop with prop speed, and it's looking nice and shiny, so that's great.
Showers my ass.
Right, and another thing I want to do while the boat is up on the HUD stand is replace the dripless seal on the prop shaft. So that is basically a rubber coupling flange, if you like, that stops water getting in past the propeller shaft through to the hull, so it seals between the hull and the shaft. The old one leaks a little bit sometimes when the motor's running. Well, it leaks every time the motor's running, a little bit. And over maybe a 6-hour motor, I've sponged out the bilge. You might have 500 mils of water. It's not a big deal, but it has obviously gotten a bit worse more recently. So that's our dripless seal. This is how it seals onto the shaft there. It's got some backward facing flanges, and that's packed with grease, and the shaft is allowed to spin in that and create a watertight seal. So to get to it, let me show you how tight a place it is to work. Rightio, so in here in the aft berth cabin, access to the engine bay through the side panel, and down there is the prop shaft just behind the gearbox. So you can see our existing dripless seal. Rightio, so there's our prop shaft coupling. I've just taken those 4 bolts out of the shaft end of the coupling, and you can see there's a little lock nut that must tighten down on a keyway or just a flat flange on the shaft. It's a little bit stuck at the moment, so I've just sprayed some WD-40 in there, let that soak, and I'm going to let that clamp joint soak in a bit of WD, and then I'll come back to it in about an hour and see whether I can coax that out. The idea is to be able to take this coupling off that joint there, so that will then be free of the gearbox. This can then slide back, and I should be able to pull the coupling off the shaft. We'll see how easy that is, and then I can get to sliding that sliding that seal off the shaft and replacing it with a new one. I've separated the coupling from the motor there, and there's that soft connector. I've just tried heating this coupling up with a heat gun and trying to encourage this bolt out, but I can only go a few to half turns, and then I've got to try and work our way back out again. Yeah, it's a very stubborn little bit of metal. So I've just spent 2 hours down in the engine bay trying to loosen off that prop coupling, and so far no luck. Still working on the penetrating WD-40 and just tightening, loosening. I think what's happened is the nub end of the grub screw that goes through into a notch or a hole in the prop shaft is actually probably rusted, corroded, and so I'm recutting the thread as I'm winding it out, and it just takes a lot of time and it's very awkward. So I'm going to leave it for a little bit, just rest my body, because you get really cramped up. After many hours of wrestling, I was able to get the coupling off the shaft. Okay, the coupling's off. Now I've just got to get that dripless seal off. I'll undo those couple of Allen key bolts. Let's see what we can do. Oh, I've just slid that off, and you can see where I've got a bit of wear on the shaft. That's fairly normal. I'll be cleaning all this up well and truly before I put it back together with the new seal. But it's just good to know where we're at with it, and to know that I'm putting the boat back in the water with a new seal, and much less likely to leak in the future. I've just gotten this coupling back from Ryan here at the Marine Mechanic facility here at Bundaberg Port, and he's really helpful. He was able to remove the old grub bolt that was damaged, and actually the end of it had been over tightened at some point. It had mushroomed, so that's what was so hard for me to get it out. And he was able to tap out the thread and put in a nice stainless steel bolt for me, and that has a locking nut, so I'm able to tighten that just snug, and then I can use this to ensure that it doesn't move. And they've also cleaned that up for me, so that's really great. And I've got another Volvo prop seal, that's the old one, on order, and that gives me the weekend to finish the antifouling. So long as we get good enough weather over the weekend, I shouldn't be behind schedule on that. So why has he got 3 dripless prop seals, you might ask, when there's only one propeller shaft on the boat? Well, this is the old one. It's the one that just came out, and it was leaking gradually underway when the motor was running for long periods. Now this one was our spare on board, and just before I went to fit it for the day, I was having a look at it, and I noticed in there's a tiny little hairline crack on the primary seal, because there's 2 seals, a primary and a secondary, and for some reason it's either a manufacturer error or it's just cracked with a bit of time. I'd say it's a few years old. So luckily I didn't fit that one. I'll be getting in the bilge again and fitting this guy in, and let's see how we go. Line in there and all sorts of weird angles. So I've got the coupling, the polyflex coupling and the prop shaft coupling back together onto the drive of the engine, and yeah, I'm basically I've sort of tightened up everything a little bit, and I'm just going to go back in there now after a little break that I've just had, and make sure that the seal is not under any pressure and is not malaligned with the shaft itself or the tube that goes through the hull. So I'm just going to make sure that it's sort of sitting center, otherwise it'll wear unevenly. We should be good to basically float in the water. Should be watertight, fingers crossed. So that's our new seal inserted there. You can see I've got stainless bolts now on the prop shaft coupling instead of the old mild steel ones. Last but not least, instructions are to squeeze a little bit of this grease around the outside edge of the flange just to lubricate that joint there, so there's no rub points. But I've double checked and centered that seal. That feels really good. Yeah, and then I'm going to give the whole show a good spray in lanolin. Right, you can see now I'm in the slings. The boys are letting me ride in the boat while we get over to the water, and pretty soon we'll be floating. So we hope you've liked this week's episode, and if you have, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Stay tuned next week when I take you through installation of a new electric anchor windlass. Through to the hull, so I've sealed between the hull and the shaft. Yeah, it's not dripping today. I've taken those 4 bolts out of the shaft end of the coupling. Flange on the shaft is a little bit stuck at the moment, so I've just sprayed some sliding that seal off the shaft. That's quite stiff at the moment, so I'm going to have to try and work on getting that nut out. And